In my last video, I was very critical of Governor Polis's property tax proposal. In fact, I called it extortion. I know it sounds hyperbolic to call politicians extortionists, but look, when I found out earlier this year that Governor Polis was going to be working on property tax reform, I was genuinely optimistic. He's supported tax cuts in the past. Unfortunately, I think extortion is the right way to describe what's happening in this case, and I'll tell you why. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tell you what taxpayers would gain under Polis's plan, but I'm also gonna give you background you won't get from him, the mainstream media, or the other politicians who helped to craft the plan. For every form of tax relief this plan purports to give you, I will point to a bill or a measure that the authors of this proposal recently killed that would have provided as much or more relief. The reason why they wouldn't let those measures pass is simple. Their plan depends on exploiting your immediate turmoil by offering relief only if you agree to give up your taxpayer refund forever. If that's not extortion, I don't know what it is. Let's start with the part of the proposal that applies to all properties. Notably, the proposal puts a cap on local property tax collections, but since local officials can remove that cap anytime they want to, that provides no guaranteed tax relief. So let's start with the part of the measure that would guarantee tax relief. First, the measure would lower the statewide assessment rate by 0.96% from 6.765% down to 6.7%. But if you remember from part 2 of this series, in 2021, citizens put an initiative on the ballot that would have lowered the rate all the way down to 6.5%, and the legislature used legal gimmicks to kill it. The next bit of relief the plan offers all Coloradans is a $40,000 exemption from your home's value for tax purposes. Yet this very same year, the legislature, including one of the authors of the proposal that's now on the table, killed in committee a bipartisan bill that would have entirely paused assessments for 2 years while the legislature worked on permanent reform. You see, they denied you tax relief previously. Relief that they're now offering you in a watered down form, because if they didn't have you over a barrel, they wouldn't be able to extort you. Now we're gonna get into the parts of the proposal targeted at helping certain groups of taxpayers. First, seniors. The measure would expand the senior homestead exemption by $40,000 and make the exemption portable. Perhaps more than any other group, a sharp rise in property taxes hurts seniors, especially those on fixed incomes. They can vote for Polis's plan and get a little bit of tax relief now, but it means voting for ending taxpayer protections and refunds in the future. This puts seniors in an impossible position. Politicians are asking them to rob from their grandkids' piggy banks to pay their own property taxes. Sadly, this didn't have to happen this way. Last year, there was a bill to expand the senior homestead exemption by even more and make it portable. The same politicians behind this property tax scheme voted to kill that bill. Are you noticing a pattern yet? Before we get to the next perk in Polis's proposal, we need to cover some background. The state sent out $750 checks in the mail last summer thanks to a requirement in Colorado's Taxpayers' Bill of Rights that the state send excess tax collections back to taxpayers. That's what this whole property tax scheme is really about. Think about it. If politicians do nothing, government will get billions of dollars in new property tax collections. They're willing to settle for a slightly less massive increase in property taxes if you agree to give up taxpayer protections and refunds granted to you in the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. With that in mind, what I'm about to tell you is key to them winning voter approval for their scheme. Last year, Democrats argued that rather than refunding state surpluses based on how much each person paid in taxes, it would be more equitable to send the same refund to everyone. That's why everyone got $750 or $1,500 for joint filers. In the last 2 days of the 2023 legislative session, legislators introduced and ultimately passed House Bill 23-1311, requiring state surpluses to be sent out evenly again this year. But the bill included a provision that said it would only go into effect if voters adopted Polis's property tax proposal in November. Here's the thing. They could have just done this without making it contingent on voters approving some other measure. But when a legislator offered an amendment to strip the contingency clause, the Democratic majority voted against guaranteeing everyone gets equal refunds. Why? Simple. If they had given you equal refunds with no strings attached, say it with me, they wouldn't be able to extort you. So if voters adopt this property tax proposal, we'll see equal refunds for 1 year. Then after a few years, we'll never see another taxpayer refund again. Anyone who understands what our politicians have done should be furious. Our politicians have put us in a lose-lose situation. Whether voters reject or adopt their proposal, property taxes will rise the most in state history. But if we adopt it, we'll also lose our taxpayer refunds forever. If those are our only options, we are far better off over the long term rejecting the proposal this November. But those are not our only options. There's one other. Every Coloradan should demand Governor Polis call a special session to deliver real property tax relief. The current terrible proposal is the result of backdoor negotiations with only a few selected special interest groups at the table. The special session should include an open, transparent, and public dialogue with all stakeholders, legislators, and the Coloradans they represent. If we do have the opportunity for that dialogue, it'll be especially important to remember that if knowledge is power, then ignorance is servitude. Tell YouTube you like this content and want to see more by hitting the like button below. That way I can bring you and other Coloradans more knowledge like this.